the first live edition. So if you've been watching the show, how many of y'all been watching the show? Okay, y'all know that I tried to bring great guests who can actually impart on our lives. So it's about millennials and how we navigate life and some of the challenges that we face. So I worked really hard to invite people on so we can just talk about it, okay? We don't have to weather this storm alone. So our first guest, y'all, before I say her name, let's read off these accolades. She's innovative, she's a visionary, a charismatic speaker, a fashion girly, serial entrepreneur. Give it up for Jay Renee.
Y'all can't be that dry.
Right.
You need like no hype song for me, bro. Just
Right.
out of your song.
Do it again. Set her up. All right, y'all. Give it up for the one, the only Jay Renee. Yes, girl, we have to have some fun. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm so excited.
Okay, we gotta do one thing. Okay, thank you, Mom. Very supportive. So before we get into it, there is one thing I like to do at the beginning of every show. So I don't know that you've been briefed. I'm sure you're a fan. You watched every minute of every episode.
Oh man, love that last one.
Oh, so good, wasn't it? So good.
Amazing, so deep.
But the reason why there's lemons, and I had lemons all over the flyer. So I grew up in Tunica, Mississippi, raised by my parents and grandparents, and my grandparents had a porch. And these kind of conversations happen on the porch. So this is really bringing the porch to life. But in life, right, we always have challenges that end up being triumphs for us. So I need you to share a lemon to lemonade story where you've had a trial that you've turned into a triumph. It ain't got to be that deep. You could be like,
I don't think we have enough time for that. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here tonight and to be able to share in a different type of way that I normally don't get to share. But let me think. I mean, I feel like honestly, the story of my life is lemons to lemonade because I've had so many opportunities to take my sour face and just be done. And literally the reason why I've been able to make it to the point that I have in life is because of the fact that I never took the sour face. I might squeeze up a little bit, but I just never settled at the sour face. So even from, I feel like I had a pretty regular childhood, grew up in a normal middle class family, originally from Clarksville, Tennessee. Yeah, because somebody here know we're Clarksville, right? You know, Tennessee in the house. But I had my dad was a pastor, my mom was a teacher. Just a pretty normal life. I know y'all can't tell about how ratchet I am now, but they say we were worse on us. But I say all that to say everything was pretty cool until a week and a half after I graduated from high school. My father suddenly had a heart attack and passed. And that was a few weeks before, or a couple months before I went to TSU for my freshman year of college. And over the course of my freshman year, so many things happened. I experienced multiple deaths, to include one of my best friends was killed in a car accident. Another one of my friends committed suicide. All this was in my first year of school, first year being away from home, trying to figure out life, all of a sudden not having a dad, when I was a daddy's girl to the extreme. And I didn't realize then, but God was really building my backbone, because when you're ambitious, there's so many things that come with ambition. Like it definitely comes with a price. Don't let Instagram fool you. Like the cars are cool, the houses will be cool, the notoriety will be cool, but it's gonna come at a price. Please don't think it doesn't. So I know even in that season, like God was strengthening my backbone and really just teaching me how to just power through, because I could have took that sour face and said, I'm just not going on. And I was 19, but here I am.
Here
Can't
you
believe it.
are. You didn't fold, amen.
I didn't fold.
Amen. So this is in celebration of our 30th birthday.
Okay.
Take us back. We're not going to share, so I don't know how far we need to go. But share your 30th story.
Oh man, so I turned 30 during the pandemic.
Oh,
So that wasn't really fun. But you know, I felt like I went through the whole age crisis before I actually turned 30. So by the time I did turn 30, I just didn't really care. I was just happy to be alive. But I had kind of gone through that crisis probably like 27, 28, where I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? What's happening? You know, whatever. But when I turned 30, I think we had a barbecue at my mama's house and had a ball.
Yeah.
You know, shout out to the Rona.
yes, panoramic. And sometimes the simple things make it work.
No, seriously.
Was there anything you were anxious about or scared of approaching 30?
I think a lot of the checklists of things that people want to work off before 30, I had done. So it wasn't so much the pressure of like accomplishment. I think for me, I've always been a planner. A lot of people in here, or some of you in here may be visionaries, those of you that think long and wide all the time. So you probably are 10 years ahead of most people. Like you're mapping out your moves. I was that type of person. So I thought I had life figured out. So from the time, you know, from my dad passing on, it was just a beginning of a series of things that just kept messing up my plan. You know what I'm saying? So I went to Tennessee State, majored in fashion merchandising, but because of the fact that I really was just overwhelmed with grief. At that time, we're a lot more into mental health and talking about that now. Back then, we weren't talking about it, so I didn't really know what depression was. I didn't know I was depressed. I just knew I would be in my room for weeks at a time. I knew I was drinking a lot, and even as a teenager. Anybody in here, any TSU in here? Or anybody know anybody that went to TSU? Okay, so there's an infamous liquor store that I'm not gonna name. There's an infamous liquor store down the street from TSU that does not ID. And let's just say I made friends with them as a freshman. And I was drinking heavily, but I didn't grow up in like a drinking family, so I didn't think I had a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just stuff I couldn't recognize. Yeah. So I didn't know I was depressed. I didn't know that I was trying to drown myself in things. So, you know, I struggled all through school. I was on academic probation the majority of the time I was in school. Yeah. Ended up losing all my financial aid, and my mom was working 2 full-time jobs to put me and my brother through school at the same time. And so I lost all my financial aid, and I felt bad. I was like, man, you know, my mom is busting her back to try to keep me here. So the only way I could stay in school was if I moved off campus, and basically I took over my room and board because I didn't have any financial aid for that. Yeah. So I started doing hair. Not necessarily because I wanted to be a hairstylist, but because there was a need on campus. I noticed I had a skill set and I needed some money. You know what I'm saying? And next thing I know, that turned into a full-blown career in which I was able to be very successful in. I was in the beauty industry for about 9 years. And then I had transitioned into my store full-time, relocated to Atlanta, all before I turned 30. So, needless to say, by the time I turned 30, I was tired. So it wasn't, the career thing wasn't my thing. But for me, I grew up in a family of nothing but marriage. So the schedule was supposed to be graduate, go to college, meet the love of your life in college, Amen. Get married, and then have a family, get your home white picket fence, have a couple kids, and be done with that before 30. So I was lost. You know, I had all the career stuff. I was doing well financially, making money, whatever. But in terms of like my personal life, I was lost. Yeah, for real.
You said a lot that I want to talk about, but I think the 20s for me was a road to self-discovery, and you're kind of getting at that where like you focus so much on the plan. Right, and at some point you got to take a step back, reassess, and really do what's best for you. So talk me through that process of you saying, okay, I'm lost. How do I go find myself?
It was definitely a process, and I'm so happy I get to like be honest like this.
Be
honest,
I
never talk about stuff like this. So I at the time, if I press rewind to early 20s, and 19ish, I thought I already knew who like my soulmate was. We were like,
I can relate.
Childhood sweetheart. You know what I'm saying? So again, you couldn't tell me that it wasn't gonna go like it was supposed to go. He knew, I knew. You know,
right,
like
he knew.
you know, and you couldn't tell me.
What happened to the plan, sir?
No, seriously. So when I tell you I was confused, and also, you know, as crazy as it sounds, I know a lot of women in here can identify with the fact that, you know, we thought it was as simple as being smart and pretty. Like, I'm smart, I'm pretty, like, I'm, you know, a good woman, I cook, I clean. You know, it shouldn't be nothing for this to get done. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what we thought. So I never in a billion years imagined being at this juncture, not being a mother, not being a wife. Like, I didn't realize how much that consumed my thought process and my identity, because that's what I aspire to be. So I had to kind of I went through a journey, lots of therapy, and just eventually I got to a place where I could acknowledge and honor what I came from, because I'm proud to come from wives and mothers and all of these things, and I believe that those are important things about who we are as women. However, there's a reason why all of us were created that has absolutely nothing to do with a man. It has nothing to do with being a wife and nothing to do with being a mother. And a lot of women don't know how to discover that. And I ended up teaching at a conference, and I get to do a lot of different stuff, but particularly one thing that I always strayed away from with anything that had to do with relationships, or like when I was doing church stuff, don't bring me no singles conference. I should have.
Yeah, because they never talk about being single.
No, I don't think I'm good at being single, and y'all don't want me to talk about that here. Like, just please. But so I ended up having to teach at this conference where my session was for single women, but I knew there were also going to be married women in the room. So I was like, how do I find a middle ground to be able to like speak to everybody? And the session I taught on, my title was Discovering the Power and Purpose of a Woman. And so my thesis was, there's a reason why you were created that has nothing to do with being a wife and nothing to do with being a mother. And I used, it was a conference at the church, so I used the example of Mary and how, you know, church kids in here, we know if we think about Mary, what's the first thing we think of? She was the mother of Jesus. Nobody thinks about her as a person. But Mary was, so I went down a rabbit hole doing all this research, just trying to find out about Mary. So a lot of people don't know, Mary gave birth to Jesus around approximately, they said she was from 12 to 14 years old. So imagine God picking a preteen. Like, she couldn't be a dummy. Because at the end of the day, God could do anything. He could have brought Jesus through a fish. He didn't have to do that with Mary. You know what I'm saying? So she had to have been some type of woman for him to choose a teenager to bring Jesus into the world. So then I started finding out that, like, Mary she was wise beyond her years, and she had spent, like, as a kid, she was like in the temple training with the elders, and all these things nobody ever talks about. All we know is that she was Jesus' mama. Literally. And so I talked about it at that conference, and I took it as a challenge to me to not allow those things, and I'm not discrediting them because those are amazing parts of who we are as women, but I made the commitment to myself then that I wasn't going to allow my marital status or whether or not I was a mother to determine how far I went in life.
Well, that's good.
It'll come when it'll come, but in the meantime, I'm gonna make something shake and get this money.
Yes! So we're gonna talk about your entrepreneurial journey, but I do want to ask this question because I do, like you said, a lot of us struggle with that. I got a married friend. Hey, married friend. But most of us are single. So how do you fill in those blanks? What are some of those other things that you found joy in so you don't sit in loneliness? Because it's real. It may be cute to say, I ain't lonely. I don't need a man. But I want one. So what are you doing to help fill that, not void, but that other that isn't talked about?
Right. Well, first of all, I think now I have a very unpopular opinion, but I'm going to say it. I think a lot of people approach dating wrong because they're so focused on this pressurized idea of, are you my soulmate? that you don't understand that sometimes one of the most freeing things to me was coming to the realization that God brings people into your life for reasons in different seasons. And sometimes God connects you with people for companionship. Sometimes, the person you date is just a friend. Sometimes, there's been seasons where like I've dated people that I didn't necessarily see as somebody that would be my husband. Well, we had a good time. Yeah. And I needed that at that time. You know what I'm saying? A full-time entrepreneur, my life is stressful. Sometimes I just need to laugh. You know what I'm saying? So I learned how to kind of take the pressure off of that and allow myself to have friends, allow myself to have a good time. You know what I'm saying? And not like be the person, and I don't knock anybody that's like this. Please don't get me wrong, but I'm not the person that's gonna be like, are you my soulmate the first day I meet you? I'm not gonna do that. And of course, as I've gotten older, I've gotten more intentional with my decisions and how I spend my time. But number one, I just learned how to date. And the second thing, I made a bucket list of all of the things that I've always wanted to do and never did. And there were a lot of things that I had associated with the idea of marriage. I never imagined doing them on my own. Like, case in point, like my parents bought a home together. I assumed I was gonna buy a house with, my husband. And in Jesus' name, y'all pray, knock on wood, April 15th, I closed on not my first, my second, my third house.
Congratulations!
This is the third home I bought as a single woman. And I never imagined buying one.
Yeah.
This is the third one I've done.
Mama, isn't that a powerful number in the Bible?
It is. It is. But all of these barriers, I had to mentally break the idea of I can only do this as a wife, or I can only, you know what I'm saying? Even there's certain places that, vacations, I imagine, I ain't gonna get you wrong. Now, some of these places, it is better, have some sand on the beach. Right. But, I became very intentional about not submerging my thoughts in when is it gonna happen. Because you would be surprised, not you would be surprised, we know as women, so many women are consumed in it, like you can't even think straight. You can't think about nothing else. Because all you're thinking about is, posting lonely memes on Instagram, man. You know what I'm saying? That's not gonna help you, sis. You know what I'm saying? Like, live your life. And I'm gonna say something too. This is hard, and I hope this frees some women that hear this. A lot of women fear going too far to make sure they're still digestible for men.
Talk to me. Because I bought my house and I was like, shit, I have done this?
No, seriously. And it's a
am I opting out of the dating pool now?
No, let me tell you. I'll never forget when I bought my first home. At the time, I was a hairstylist, and one of my older clients had told me, you really need to be careful, bringing men to your house because, a lot of them will get intimidated and yada, yada, yada. And this is a lot of stuff that you will hear from older women. And the thing is, they're not lying. They're not. But so again, you make a choice though. You decide that either you're going to live this way and make yourself more digestible, or you just gonna live your life. And whoever gonna take it, gonna take it. You know what I'm saying? And I just made the decision that I'm not willing to not live to make myself easier to date.
Man.
I'm not gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? So even if it happens later down the line, and to be honest, the dating pool does start to get smaller, especially those of us that have all these standards of how we want the man to have more than this, and he gotta come like that, and it's gonna get smaller. It is, but that's why, girl, look a flight. Have fun.
So one of the things I did was start to play tennis.
Yes.
Yes, and hey, tennis friends.
Tennis.
Yes, Serena's Venus and them in the making. That was so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. So we talked about dating. I hope that got it out of y'all. I'm so tired of the dating conversation on social media.
It's never going to stop.
It's never going to stop because all of us desire love. Most of us desire love in some capacity. But entrepreneurship. So you started to talk about how you started doing hair as a need because I lost some scholarships too, girl. I got alphabet soup, every letter that they could give at any point. But I'm here, amen. As a black girl, but talk me through your entrepreneurship journey. And Courtney gave me some tea too. Okay. She said you had millions, lost it, and had to write back.
I did.
So talk to me about it.
I did. So my journey in entrepreneurship honestly started when I was a kid. I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was introduced to the idea of entrepreneurship when I was 12 years old. My oldest brother brought me a book. And I always plug this because I know some of y'all got kids that you like to leave on iPads. Give them a book.
Thank you.
Put them in a book, seriously.
Amen.
Balance. But so this book is called How to Become a Teenage Millionaire, and basically chronicle the lives of people that either started their business as teenagers and became millionaires as teenagers, or started their business and eventually became millionaires, but it was started when they were teenagers. So either way, when I read this book, it unlocked something in my brain, because I started to realize not only were these things possible, but I realized that I didn't necessarily have to be a certain age. Because a lot of us struggle with that when I grow up mentality. And even as adults, we have that. We have this idea of what we think is going to happen when we get to a certain age. You know, when I turn 30, I'm going to do this. Oh, when I turn 40, I'll be ready to settle down, or, whatever else. And so that book really just shattered that when I grew up thing. And I'm like, yo, I'm young. I can make this happen. So I wrote my first business plan when I was 12. It was trash. I wrote a business plan for a lawn care company. I was such a girly girl. I didn't like dirt, but I was just like, what can I do? I'm 12. So I wrote that first business plan, just started to work the muscle. And so the crazy thing is, the next business plan that I wrote was for an online store. And I wrote that business plan when I was 16, and that online store eventually manifested into what gave me the billions. But it was years before it actually came into fruition. And the funny thing is, when I took that plan to my parents, you would think my parents would be impressed, like, oh, daughter wrote a business plan again, and my parents were like, that's cute, go to college. They were not messing with it at all, but I kept it. And so when I got to school, it was always at the front of, the vision was always in front of me, no matter what I was doing. And I like to say that because a lot of people have big dreams and get discouraged by a process. And for me, let me tell you, from the time that I wrote the business plan to the time that business plan made me millions, I worked at Chick-fil-A, I worked at Old Navy, hated it. I worked at Mac, I played in church, I did hair, I sold cell phone cases, I did makeup. I did all of those things before I even started the business. You know what I'm saying? It was years. And, so I try to always tell people, if the vision is in front of you, don't be discouraged by having to do stuff you don't want to do. Because I didn't necessarily want to do hair. I did what I had to do to get to where I wanted to be. You know what I'm saying? I think our generation is so y'all just being lazy, but our generation don't want to do stuff they don't want to do. Everybody is so, I want to be in purpose. Oh my God. I need to be happy. I'm not going to a job I don't like. That's stupid. Honestly, you know how many of us are able to eat because our parents got up and went to jobs they didn't like? Come on. You know what I'm saying? Y'all rather sit up here and struggle and be depressed than just go get a job. Honestly, and unpopular opinion, but I'm going to say it. So I started off just hustling. I was doing hair on campus, and I made the decision early on that the defining factor for me was going to be overly or overt professionalism. I didn't want people to ever feel like they were getting a hustle experience with me. So even though I'm in the dorm, and I went to an HBCU, so any of you that went to HBCUs might know we have salons in our dorm, a lot of us. So we had shampoo bowls and styling chairs. So I had a whole setup. I had a shampoo tech. I had somebody who was threading my needles. I had appointment books, baby. I had cakes.
Wait. You had a wash tech?
I sure did. Because, baby, I was running them through there, baby. And another thing with my professionalism, I never believe in making people wait. And so one thing I realized is that, a good business is always going to solve problems. So I built every business that I've been involved in, I always built from a problem. And 3 of the biggest problems in the African-American beauty space, number 1 is time, because people hate waiting all day to get something done. And number 2, people hate having to wait and get something done, and it's not right. And then number 3, people don't enjoy, a lot of times, they don't enjoy the experience. It's messy, it's unprofessional, it's loud, it's hot. You got the man in here selling CDs,
The fish play. I ain't gonna lie, I like the good fish play.
I don't mind the fish play either, but still, those were 3 direct problems that I went into. Even hustling, I was I want my clients to have a good experience. I want them to feel like a luxurious experience coming to me. I'm not going to take all day, even if that means I need to strategically price my services to where I don't have to overbook to make money. You know what I'm saying? And then I just wanted to make sure I did the best possible job. If it was something that I wasn't that good at, I just didn't do it. Or I warned you, I'll do this, but I'm not going to guarantee how it's going to turn out. Now, if you proceed, then that's on you, baby. That'll be 150. You know what I'm saying? But I say all that to say, like, I was very intentional about that early in business. And those same principles I took into my store. So I ended up getting my license. I went into the actual professional salon space, and I gave myself 5 years. And I said, within 5 years, I'm on my way out. And so I started my online store after I'd been in the salon for 2 years. So for 3 years, I would be doing, I get up in the morning, print orders, whatever, go to the shop, do clients, leave the shop, go ship my orders, come back, finish my clients, go home, do some more business work, go to sleep, get up and do it again. I did that for 3 years. Until eventually I was able to go full time. And so I was super excited. I had sold my house that I had at the time. And so I was like, okay, I got some money. I'm moving to Atlanta. I'm going to start over. I'm like, God, I'm stepping out on faith. You got it. Baby, when I tell you, I hit the ground so hard. I'm talking about splat.
Beat you right in the face.
It was.
Like, where did this come from?
It was bad. That first year in Atlanta was one of the worst years of my life. And I literally watched everything that I had built up until that point. Everything from my credit to my home. I wrecked my car. Relationship stuff, like literally every way I could be hit, I was being hit. And the crazy thing is, I was actually, when I moved here, I was in the middle of litigation for a big car accident settlement. So that was part of the reason why I felt comfortable like leaping out. Like the settlement was for about $80,000. So I'm like, okay, this will be cool. This is gonna hold me over. How much it be? $5,000.
Yep. Don't ever call a lawyer, y'all. Do not ever call a lawyer.
I got $5,000. And at that point, I'm struggling, trying to figure out how to make it work. There was a guy that I had been dealing with. Baby, when I tell you, I'm going to never mix business and personal again. But there was a guy that I was dealing with. He was my graphic designer. He had all my website, everything. Like, he was running everything. And he ended up getting mad at me and deleted my website.
That's a dirty.
Deleted everything. So all things JRenee.com, boutique JRenee might be the only way I'm making money at this time. I have no money, so I can't pay somebody to redo it. So I'm like struggling, just like, what do I do? And guess what? I built the website myself. To this day, the website that people shop on, that I run millions on, I built myself. After a nigga deleted my website.
That's so good, because one of my friends sit right in front. He gets so irritated at me because I'm like, I want to pay somebody to do it.
No.
I want to pay somebody to do it.
And this is the thing. You can pay people to do things, but you don't ever want to have blind spots in your business. Because, even though there are people that can do things way better than you, and I believe in hiring people that can do things well, but at the same time, you don't ever want to end up in a situation where, for lack of better words, somebody has you by the balls. You know what I'm saying? And you can't fix it. And that's exactly what happened to me. And I was calling on, everybody I knew, friend, like nobody would mess with me.
Yeah.
And I had to rebuild everything. And this is in the midst of the worst year of my life. And I'm fighting. And then finally, I just given up the ghost, and I was like, I can't do it. I knew also during that time, hindsight's 2020, but I realized that I did not have a good relationship with money. Because I had always worked in a fast money industry. I didn't really value money the way I should have. And I thought because of the fact that I had a great credit score, I was good with money. And that's not the truth.
That's not true.
It's not true. And so I ended up having to literally start over. I sold my house, moved back home. This is after I had bought my second house, been successful, making money.
You're in Atlanta and moved back to Clarksville.
I moved back to my mama's house. And I wasn't even in my room. I was in my brother's room.
Oh.
I had to move back home and start all the way over. But when I got home, I paid off all my debt. Well, first of all, I laid in the bed depressed for months. Mm-hmm. I looked up the Air Force. I was like,
trying anything.
I just want to leave.
I just want
to be done. But the crazy thing is, in the midst of all that, I never stopped. I slowed down. In my business or whatever, but I never stopped. And so, making a very long story short, I ended up going to a conference. And this is something that I like to share because a lot of people get to places where they feel like, what's next for me? I don't know what to do. And one of the best things you can do is put yourself in a room of creative people that are doing things that you're not doing. Because a lot of times we don't know what next is for us. And sometimes we have to see it in other people. And I ended up going to this conference in LA. And honestly, the majority of the stuff they said at the conference I already knew. But it was just something about being in that room that just lit me back up. That was May of 2019. And so through a series of events, I ended up praying. I read this book and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. I've been watching all these people just be super successful, make money online. And I said, I want 6-figure months. I wanted to see 6-figure months. I said that December 2019. Mind you, 2019 was the first year I had ever made 6 figures, period, in that business.
Come on, lady.
I had just made $100,000 for the year. In December 2019, I said I wanted to see $100,000 a month. I had my first 6-figure month in July of 2020. And after that, I never turned back. I had my first 7-figure year, 2021. And from there, you know, I moved back to Atlanta. I got my warehouse in Midtown. The team was growing. Everything was going. Things were just going up. And the crazy thing is, I've never shared this publicly because this is actually kind of fresh. But this is a good conversation to have, and I really pray some women are really, really blessed by this because so things were going back up, things were good, and I get to a relationship, and I'm thinking that, you know, this is the first time I've been in a relationship in a very long time. I'm trying to tell you.
My mama is cutting up in the
I should have known. But so I get into this relationship, y'all. I should have known. I should have known. No, for real. The red flags were there, but long story short, he was a scammer. He owes me a whole lot.
Scammer? Oh my God.
And this man put me in a situation that compromised everything.
For a second time.
Yeah. Dang. And this time it was different because, you know, but when you fall from down here, it ain't that bad. You just kind of get up, scratch yourself. When you fall from up here, it's different. No, seriously. And at this time, I have a business. I don't just have to keep the lights on in my house. I have an office. I have full-time and part-time staff. Like, when I tell you I was in a fight for my life,
but God,
in the fight for my life. And long story short, he turned that thing around, baby. I survived. When I tell you, like, and the long story short is skipping over a lot of the juicy stuff. But
I gotta bring her back for a part two.
No, seriously though. But when I tell you, and to this day, that man still ain't gave me my money.
Get her money back.
Ain't gave me nothing. But you know what, baby? I have this thing. Can I cuss?
Good.
Okay, so I have this joke where, like, if somebody ever tried to play with me about money, I'd be like, man, I'll wipe my ass with that money. Like, that would be my little, you know, whatever. So I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to trust God and walk away. And you know what? In due time, I'm going to be wiping my ass with that money. And you know what? Seriously. See, y'all know when a man trying to play with you. But this is something that women have to be mindful of. Because we talk about women be trying to get on men and be predators like they want a man with money. No, men be liking women with money. Period.
Baby, big head.
They like women with money too. You know what I'm saying? And I ended up in a situation I never in a million years ever imagined being in, but God. And you know what? I remember being so like, I'm talking about, I'm crying my eyes out, I'm low, I'm like, God, how did I get into this? I want to be done with this man, but I knew if I stopped dealing with him, he would never pay me my money. And I remember God telling me plain as day, this man got you in this, but he's not going to get you out of it. Amen. Walk away.
Walk away.
And when I tell you, I did that in June of 2023, I walked away. I ain't going to say it again, but...
Come on.
Well,
this was so good. You talked a lot. LaBelle rushing me, y'all. Can y'all give it up for LaBelle? RTW, he's trying to keep me on schedule. You said so much. One thing I want to hit on how it took you a long time. You did a lot of hustling. So sometimes you got to be still in that thing.
Yeah.
Like my mama call us the microwave generation. We want everything quickly. I want it now, today, right now.
And if it's gonna last, it's not gonna be built fast.
Ooh. Build it slow and steady.
Crock pot. Don't nobody want that made in the microwave. That crock pot, just slow, steady.
Slow and steady. And then you talked about having to move back home with your parents. I think we label resets as failure, but sometimes it's just a reset.
Sometimes it's just a reset. And you know what? This is a plug for this book. It's called Failing Forward by John C. Maxwell. One of the best books I ever read in my life. And I read this book while I was at home. And in the book, basically, he talks about how people spend their whole lives preparing for success, but nobody prepares for the thing that's inevitable, and that's failure. It's gonna happen. And so basically, I had to redefine all of the mess ups in my head, and not as failure, but it was an experiment. It just didn't work. And it's simple as that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. It didn't work. What do I need to do different? Move on.
What's next?
What's next?
What's next for y'all?
What's next?
So last question, because everybody has been telling me your 30s are better than your 20s. Your 30s are better than your 20s. Is that true?
Absolutely.
And how?
Absolutely.
So we're gonna turn up in my 30s.
Yeah, no. There's a confidence that comes with age, to where you know what you want, you know what you don't want. If I want to do it, I do it. If I don't want to do it, I don't. If I like it, I'll say it. If I don't like it, if I want to, I'll say that too. You know what I'm saying? If I don't want to go, I don't care. I'm not going.
I ain't going.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just you don't have anything to prove anymore. You know what I'm saying? Even when I go out kicking it with your friends, I'm gonna go home. Y'all have fun. Yeah, I'm not coming at all. Like, it's just you don't feel that pressure. You know what I'm saying? I heard it get better in your 40s. I can't wait. I can't wait.
I can wait. Let's enjoy these 30s. No, but this has been so good.
I've enjoyed this.
Can I hang out with you on the weekend?
Yeah, we're gonna go outside.
Did y'all enjoy this? I'm so excited. We love you. If nobody else is a fan, she's a fan. Y'all, we talked a lot about boutiques, but fellas, if you got a lady or your mama, ladies, please shop J. Renee Boutique.
Boutique J. Renee. No, I'm on. This is Boutique J. Renee too. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Y'all be asking me where I get my clothes. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of the Candid. Bye.